A very good day to all of you. My name is Pivan. Together with my co-author, Sri Ganesh Varun, is proud to bring to you cultural impact of Chinese drama towards Malaysian and Chinese audiences. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start, we would like to express thank you to the organizing committee for providing this opportunity to share and to collaborate with one another. Before we continue further, it is also important that we deliberate on Peter Adler. Peter Adler once said, the study of intercultural communication begins as one journey into another person's culture and reality, and we reflect on our own culture. Culture, according to Martin and Nakayama in 2014 in their book entitled Experiencing Intercultural Communication, mentioned that culture is learned. It involves perception, values, behaviors that are shared by a group of people that is also dynamic and heterogeneous. It involves our emotions and feelings. Think about culture. Culture is like exactly whereby you see an iceberg. What you see at the tip of the iceberg is only a small part of what is inside the bigger part of the iceberg. That is culture. Now, we have chosen a story called the story of Yanxi to be our research focus. Why the story of Yanxi? Because it has streamed 15 billion times during its premiere in July to August 2018 and is one of the most top Google searches in 2018. And this type of movie was distributed in 17 nations around the world. It has won many awards, among them a Fifth China Actor Award, and recently on the Asian Creative Awards in 2019 that they won Best Soap Opera. The methodology that we use is textual analysis. According to this 1977, is a type of research where researcher focus and tries to find meaning by highlighting how the social context is placed by using an interpretive means. If the scenes were handpicked and to help the participants to recall because they had a wide range of 70 episodes. The methodology that we divide the focus group into two groups that are Malaysian and Chinese participants. Chinese participants coming from Sichuan, Shanxi, Anhui, and Jiangxi. They are aged between 20 and 21 years old, whereas we have 7 Malaysian participants aged between 19 and 22 years old coming from Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, Melaka, and Johor states. The focus group was conducted on 10 and 24th of April 2021. Let's go straight to the finding. The findings of the main objective is to explore various Chinese cultural values portrayed in TV drama in Malaysia. Most of the Malaysian participants in the focus group did not express any cultural values. They had a tough time and they had a difficult time to recall some of the TV contents that is found in Malaysia. One participant mentioned there was a book from a novel turned into a kids production they call The Pebbles. The Pebbles are small little stones that was published, that was aired in Astro. Another movie that they are able to recall was The Quarters in 2012, whereby this was produced in cooperation with Media Corporation, MediaCorp Singapore. It is interesting to note that all Malaysian participants explained that most content of the Chinese TV drama has little or no relations to cultural values. The second finding is to find out, to understand whether the values portrayed in the TV drama, in particular the story of Yanxi, are authentic or dramatized. Chinese participants find that there is a high percentage of authenticity all the way up to 90%. But for Malaysian participants, on the other hand, Most participants from Malaysia think that the authenticity of the culture portrayed, they are not sure that is about 50-50 percentage. Malaysian participants does not regard any cultural significance in the drama. In other words, Chinese participants regard culture of primary, but Malaysian participants find that regards culture is of secondary. Now, when we show them some wedding and funerals, they are able to recall, yes, there are some familiarity and resemblance, but they also mention the culture has been modified. For example, they eat a raw fish symbolized to give birth to children. Today has been replaced with nuts, for example, red dates and lychee, whereas in funeral, you find that their grandchildren and great-grandchildren, they have different color instead of black and white. The Chinese participants are able to deliberate further from what was given, what shown to them in this in the PowerPoint slides. It's more important is that they mentioned that embroidery was a form of a culture that made from silk string that comes from silkworm. And they are able to recall the empress that was wearing a velvet flower on her headdress, right? Found that it is 100% true and authentic. And they also deliberate on the Coco Opera. Coco Opera is where you have the makeup all over the face and you raise a high pitch of tone, like for example, something like this in the Coco Opera. And they are able to deliberate on the exact history of the Qianlong Emperor in the 16-year reign that mentioned that embroidery needle was found in the collar of the emperor clothes. So it is exactly the same found in the history books. And they also deliberate on the fire tree of Yinhua, which is a symbolic of fire that is made, it's a very hot fire that when it was beaten up, so it turns out to be like a fireworks. Now, the third findings, which is the most important findings that both participants that can deliberate on. The third research question is, to what extent the drama has created impact on Chinese and Malaysian younger generation. Ladies and gentlemen, the most important part was the cultural reflection. It talks about China international standing and its equal social status. For example, one participant asked why China international status has gradually declined since Emperor Qianlong. Is it a problem caused by the feudal system? We can understand how we can avoid this kind of inconsistency from now by having equal social status and develop social potential. Ladies and gentlemen, from the participants' question of China international status, we can see that China is making its presence felt around the region. And on top of that, they understood that the ancient feudal system does not deliberate on the social potential, the potential of individual, and thus they do away with the ancient feudal system and believe of equal social standing by developing talent. Whoever has a talent, they move higher up. Secondly, to what extent the drama has created the impact on Chinese and Malaysian younger generation is the cultural values that is from the business perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, this business value is very important when you do business with the Chinese counterpart. There's a saying in China that says that people are always kind, but you know how to protect yourself. People as a whole are negotiable, but the defensive heart is dispensable. This should be a principle of dealing with things. Now, it is also important to note there are only internal interests and no eternal enemies. This, in a simple saying, let me put this in a very simple word. It means that if you work for the company, for them, you are their friends. But if you work for their competitor, all right, you are their enemies. So this is an idea. Today we can become friends. Tomorrow we can become enemy. and tomorrow we are enemy, today we can become friends. It means that there is no eternal enemies, but there's only eternal interest. These are very important principles for the business perspective. Third, in terms of social cultural values, it is a very rare quality in that exemplified in that drama. It says that if your kindness wants to be seen by others, it is not a true kindness. Ladies and gentlemen, today people do things as if they do it for a reason. They have inner thoughts and they have hidden agenda, right? This is exemplified by the first emperor of Qianlong. It says that she has always been simple and selfless to do the same. So it is important to ask ourselves as we reflect on other people's culture, is that do we do it with inner motive or we do it without any expecting anything in return? So ladies and gentlemen, it's a very good cultural values for us to reflect upon. And last but not least, to what extent the drama has created impact. It was so powerful impact on the Chinese and Malaysian younger generations that it's many of them decided to follow through the Yanxi Palace, the Yanxi Palace of season 2, the Princess Adventure. There are two sides of the character and there's twists and events. It was full ups and downs, even not only the younger generation, but the older generation as well followed through the story. Ladies and gentlemen, before I end, I'd like to once again bring to you Peter Adler, the study of intercultural communication. As we begin as we journey into another culture and reality, and ends into as we reflect into our own culture. With that, thank you very much and for paying attention. And we hope that you have learned some part of it, and you're interested to know more about the full paper. We will be happy to share them with you. Thank you very much.